Last week, this quote came across my awareness on three separate times in the same day. Now, when something like this happens, I have to pay attention. I have to ask myself, why is this being presented so many times in such a short time frame? And what do I have to learn from this? So it was a quote from Brené Brown. And what it said was unused creativity is not benign. It metastasizes. Unused creativity turns into grief, it turns into rage, it turns into judgment, sorrow, and shame. One of the things I've noticed about high achieving entrepreneurs is that we tend to put creativity in a box. We think that creativity is just about painting or writing or having some sort of hobby. But the truth about being a high achieving entrepreneur is that creativity is how we innovate. Creativity is how we problem solve. Creativity is how we express our truest selves. It's in our branding, it's in our marketing. And when we suppress it, that energy doesn't just disappear, it actually festers and it will show up in our lives and our businesses as frustration, resentment, or possibly even burnout. And also, when we suppress it, it means that we're not showing up as the best versions of ourselves in our businesses. Because if we're not being innovative in our businesses and we're not effectively problem solving, if our branding is not aligned, if our marketing is not aligned, our business cannot be the business that we need it to be. So, in today's episode, we're going to dive into why creativity is absolutely essential, not only for a fulfilling life, but also for success in your career and in your business, and how ignoring this creative urge within us can lead to very deep emotional blocks. And then we're also going to talk about reconnecting with our creative instincts. I am lucky. I do consider myself a creative person, but even if you don't, you still have access to this ability. I'm going to share with you some resources, some habits, some practices that you can start employing in your life to help you reignite this creative spark so that you can use it to fuel you towards all of your biggest goals.
I can tell you've got big goal energy. Are you ready to turn your wildest dreams into your everyday reality? You are in the right place. Welcome to Big Goal Energy, the podcast that helps you turn your audacious and delusional dreams into your everyday life. We know that you don't settle for the ordinary, that you have dreams which others may deem unrealistic. But here, we help you defy reality and bring those dreams to life. Each episode of Big Goal Energy empowers you with knowledge, inspiration, and mentorship to conquer your most unrealistic goals. From transparent roundtable conversations to short-form episodes, you'll hear the experiences of women who have defied reality, as well as learn practical tips and strategies to fuel your journey. Join us by subscribing to Big Goal Energy, and together we'll turn your audacious dreams into remarkable achievements.
Hey, Bree Seeley here, hostess of Big Goal Energy. And today's episode just feels so timely for me in my life and hopefully also for you in yours. I rounded up a group of women that I know here in Tulsa, and we started a book club together back in January. And we are going through the artist way. And the artist way is really truly about helping you kind of like reignite that creative spark, like I mentioned earlier, about helping you connect with that inner creative part of yourself that we often turn off. We often tell ourselves, like, oh, creativity isn't productive, so I can't focus on it. How is being in my creativity today helping me achieve my big goals? So I want to reread to you this quote that was put in my path 3 times last week from Brené Brown. Unused creativity is not benign. It metastasizes. It turns into grief, rage, judgment, sorrow, and shame. It's like I mentioned in the intro, when something like this comes across my path 3 separate times in the same day, I can't not pay attention to it. And my question for myself was, of course, where am I not tapping into my creativity? Where am I not using or accessing that level of creativity to help me truly thrive both in my life and in my business? And then, of course, I thought of all of you. I'm like, man, high achievers really truly make a lot of excuses about not tapping into our creativity. If you look at the way the world works, creativity is not something that's super prized. think about it. The whole starving artist archetype. Well, if you're going to be creative, you're not going to be able to eat. You're not going to be able to pay yourself. You're not going to be able to take care of yourself. We are conditioned to kind of stuff our creativity. But the truth is, as high achieving women, creativity is not an optional element of our lives. It's actually essential to our well being. And when ignored, like Brené Brown said, it festers into frustration, self doubt, and a lack of fulfillment. So let's kick today's episode off by talking about what is creativity. Because again, like I mentioned at the beginning, we think of creativity as like traditional arts, right? Painting, sculpting, music, like traditional arts. But creativity in life, creativity in career, in business, is truly how we are able to approach complex ideas, complex problems with solutions and innovations, as well as being able to express ourselves. I mean, hell, what you wear every single day is part of your creativity. How you style yourself, if you have glasses or not, how you do your hair, how you do your makeup, the jewelry you wear, how you do your nails, all of that is creative self expression. So, if we're approaching all of these things in our life, problems, innovations, or self expression, as something that just fits into a nice little box, we're actually preventing ourselves from accessing everything that is available to us. This is actually an innate part of being a human. Even if we look down to the biology, humans on a biological level are creators. We create our lives. We create our careers, our businesses. We can create other mini human beings. We create experiences. We are creators. That is who we are as human beings. So when we think about creativity through that lens, it becomes not just a nice to have thing, it is actually a pivotal part of what it means to be a human. Over the course of my entrepreneurial journey, 18 years, I have absolutely lost touch with my creativity. There's so many elements of business that require you to show up in a certain way or do things in a certain way. I remember when I had my fashion label, I would create all of these amazing, just out of the box, insanely beautiful, ostentatious creations. But at the end of the day, it had to come down to how was I going to bring this thing to life? How was I going to create it? What were the profit margins involved in bringing this thing to life? Would I be able to sell it for the prices I needed to sell it? And so little by little, my creativity started really getting like chipped away because my focus was less on bringing to life these like amazing creations, letting my mind run free, and instead putting myself into the box of what is sellable, what is marketable, what are people going to buy? How do I get this out to market? Now, of course, in business, it is important to have both. You need to look at the nuts and bolts of how this product is going to get out there. But at the same time, if that's all that you're looking through, you're losing the essential crux of why we're creating in the first place. So, as I mentioned, I stripped away and stripped away and stripped away and stripped away at my creativity so much that I felt like I was showing up as a shell of myself. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know that towards the end of me owning that fashion label, I was having panic attacks. I was severely depressed, was in the fetal position in my bed all the time. And I attribute a large part of that to me disconnecting and losing that ability to tap into that creative flow, to tap into the juice that runs through all of our veins and through all of our souls. So, as Brené Brown talked about, when you do this, ignoring these creative impulses or essentially what I did was essentially turn the tap off. It was like I had this beautiful flowing stream of water from this tap that was wide open, and the water was rushing out of the tap. And little by little, I closed it off. So, shutting off these creative impulses, like I mentioned, can turn into things like grief, anxiety, depression, judgment, sorrow, shame. We start living in an endless loop of frustration, self criticism, resentment. When I was in that spot, I felt like I truly had no other options out. I felt like I was at a dead end. I felt like the universe had abandoned me. It was not a great place to be. I feel like the pandemic also kind of spun me into a bit of this. Now, as most of you also know, puzzles are one of my happy places. And so during the pandemic, I was doing a lot of puzzles, but basically, I was living alone in a box in New York City. What better things did I have to do than work? So I got back into that habit of overworking and underliving because 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I couldn't leave my house. What else was I going to do? Yes, I was working out. Yes, I was doing puzzles. Yes, I was reading, but I was also very much overworking myself. And it's also really hard to be in your creativity if you're not actively engaging with the world around you. So that experience also spun me into a pattern where I was disconnecting myself, removing myself from that creativity within me. Let's take just a quick little break. I have a free resource for you. When we come back, I'm going to talk about how do we start shifting this? How do we start writing this ship? How do we start moving back into our creativity if we've been in a cycle where we've been shutting it off, where maybe the tap, instead of being a free flowing stream of water, is just a teeny tiny little trickle? How do we begin opening back up to our creativity? I will be right back. Enjoy this brief break.
Are you an entrepreneur with a bigger vision for your business, but no clear path to build it? You need strategy, accountability, and community to transform the business you have into the entrepreneurial legacy you dream of. No more overworking for mediocre results. No more confusion about achieving your massive dreams. No more doubting your audacious goals. The Foundry is your opportunity to say yes to the big goals within you and build them with ease and alignment. Apply now to become one of just 10 entrepreneurs in this exclusive mastermind. Visit bresealy.com/mastermind and don't wait. Your legacy starts today.
Hello, welcome back. All right, so we've talked about kind of the nature of creativity. We've talked about the suppression of creativity. Now let's talk about, if we have been in a pattern of suppressing our creativity, how do we reignite that spark? How do we open that tap back up so that we can re-access the things that help us, I believe, truly feel alive in our life and in our business? Help us get back into that place of problem solving, of being able to innovate, of being able to see opportunities and take risks and trust ourselves. I believe I mentioned this briefly earlier, but I want to challenge the idea that creativity is only for artists. I can't tell you how many people I've met or clients that I've worked with that say like, "Oh, I'm I'm not creative." Excuse me, what? Like, you're not creative? You have birthed a business, a career, a child, insert anything that you've brought to life here, and you're not creative, you're not creating, you're not a creator? I'm sorry. That's not actually true. People limit the definition of creativity to be something that is only available to artists, only available to musicians. When, as I said before, creativity comes into your branding. Creativity comes into problem solving. Creativity comes into your business strategy, your marketing, how you innovate, how you show up differently, how you are the only one like you in the entire fucking world. So, one of the ways that I have been able to kind of turn my tap back on, reignite that spark, is through daily journaling. Now, if you've ever read or done The Artist's Way, it is an absolutely incredible book. I started it once in 2019, did not finish it, and now am going back through it with a community of women to have the accountability for us to go through all 12 weeks together. There are two primary things that she recommends for every single week of the 12 weeks, and then each week kind of has its own theme. The two things that she recommends to reignite that relationship, because it is a relationship with that inner creator inside of you, two things. One, daily journaling. Now, I can already hear, Bree, I don't know what to write about. Journaling isn't my thing. Find a way to get what's in here. If you're not watching the YouTube video right now, I'm pointing at my head. What's in your brain out, okay? Especially for my neurodivergents out there, present company included. We tend to hoard our thoughts and we want to hold on to them because we don't want to forget them. And so we hold on to them and we hold on to them and we hold on to them. They're literally cluttering up our being. They're cluttering up our mind. They're cluttering up our energetic field. Like they're cluttering everything. You have to have a practice to get what's in here out. Journaling can also help you explore some really beautiful questions. Why am I perpetuating this pattern that I've been playing out in my life for so many years? That was my journaling prompt yesterday. If you're having an interpersonal issue, being able to journal it out and see clearly on paper what truly is going on and how you're truly feeling about it. Journaling is really a way, if you were to have a thing of yarn and it was all knotted up and it looks like it's going to take years to undo, I see journaling as being able to pull a thread and pull another thread and pull another thread and pull another thread to untangle what's going on inside of us, how we're feeling, how we're thinking, and being able to create space more than anything. I think it was around week 2 of The Artist's Way. I was going through something deeply, deeply personal. And normally I would not have journaled about it. I would have just kept running it through in my head because I didn't want to forget how I was feeling. And I didn't want to forget all the things that I was going to say when I was going to have a conversation with this person. And so it was just looping in my head all the time. Those loops are literally keeping you from your creativity. I found that by sitting down and journaling, now she recommends 3 pages a day, 3 pages a day. If you look at all of us in our book club, some people have pages that are like small. I personally have college ruled, metal spiraled, traditional like college school notebook, right? Some days I don't hit 3 pages, but I get everything out so that I'm able to free myself in my brain because creativity cannot thrive if you are busy. Creativity cannot thrive if your brain is full of other shit. So we have to find a way to take the busyness, take the mind loops, take all of those things and put them somewhere so that we know we have them and create spaciousness. Creativity does not thrive when it's being pressed upon by all of these other things. So, journaling for me in that circumstance was a way to put it all on paper, free myself from having to carry it around with me all the time. And in creating that space, I actually was able to see, holy shit, I'm being way more creative right now than I would have been able to be if I had held on to what I was experiencing and going through in that moment. Now, the second part that she recommends, daily journaling, 3 pages a day, the second part that she recommends is having a weekly, she calls it an artist date. You could call it a creative date if the word artist triggers you. One of the ways to do this is to start engaging in play and having a beginner mind without that pressure to be good at it immediately. What are some things that you could go out and do and experience and immerse yourself in where you don't have to be perfect at it, but you just give yourself the opportunity to experience it? It's about prioritizing curiosity over perfection because creativity is not about achieving an end result. Now, I'm going to pause and say that again because as high achievers, we're like goals, 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 all of the goals, big goal energy. I got the goals. Goals are about end result. I got the goals. Creativity is not a goal driven end result creating experience. Creativity is about self expression and it's about freedom. Creativity is about getting to know yourself better. Creativity is about giving yourself permission to have fun and to play and to be curious without there having to be something that comes out of it. So I know myself well enough to know when in week 1 of The Artist's Way that if I got to a Friday and I didn't already know what to do for my Friday artist date that week, that I would just be like, well, what the fuck, whatever. I'll just work today and like I'll figure it out later. So what I did in week 1 is I actually sat down and I made a list of 50 different artist dates that I could take myself on. Because I know that if I have options, if I've already pre-planned what all of my options are, then on Fridays it's just about showing up and saying, ooh, which one do I want to do today? Rather than having to think of, oh, what am I going to do today for my artist date? So week 1, I sat down and I made a list of 50 different artist dates that I could do. Now, obviously, I have been working my way through the list and very, very much enjoying it. Some of the things that I've done, I had a candle making date with myself. I replanted all of my plants in our sunroom. I sat at the cafe with a fiction fiction, fiction book. For any of you that don't remember, fiction means not real. Creative book by a fireplace. It was lovely. A few weeks ago, I went to a sweat and stretch class, which I have not worked out in 9 months because of my shoulder. A few weekends ago, I gave myself 2 full days of meditation. I really want to get back to a Joe Dispenza retreat, and it's just not looking like the timing is going to match up. So I threw myself my own meditation retreat. Last week, I did a puzzle. Next week, I'm going to get a tattoo. Creativity is not about the end result, it is about self expression and freedom. So if you're feeling creatively blocked, I want to encourage you to start implementing at a bare minimum these 2 things: morning pages, 3 pages a day, write it all out. Get everything in here that's rattling around inside of you, get it out. You need space to be able to tap into your creativity. 2, a weekly artist date where you're letting yourself go, you're letting yourself play. Go put hands in clay. Go to the children's museum. Go take a photography class. Go take a pole dancing class. Do something to let yourself be uncomfortable, be in that beginner mind, and be in the experience of it without having your mind on the goal, on the end result. Okay. Now, I want to drop one more tool for you in case you need it. We can have a lot of subconscious fears tied up around our creativity: fears of failure, judgment, rejection, not knowing our future selves. Like, all of these things can really truly block us from being able to fully tap into and allow ourselves to be creative, to be that inner artist that we are, to be the creator that we were born to be. If you have any interest in working with your subconscious, using a tool to release some of those blocks in the 95% of your brain that you cannot access on a daily basis, hypnotherapy is one of the best tools that I have ever found to remove these blocks. Hypnotherapy can help free you of those old stories and those old programs and those old paradigms and let your creativity begin to flow naturally. So in April, I am launching a suite of hypnotherapy products. We're going to start by launching 4 30-day hypnotherapy programs. If you have any interest in learning more, go visit breesealy.com/hypnosis, HYPNOSIS. You can get signed up to be notified when these become available. This is just a way for you to express that you're interested in learning more. They are not available for sale yet. They are not up to access in any way. This is simply I'd like to learn more when Bree releases this. So go to breesealy.com/hypnosis and get signed up to be notified. In closing today, I just want to remind you that your creativity is not a luxury. It's actually a necessity, not only in your life, but also in your career, in your business, in all of the goals that you're going towards. Your path is going to be so unique. And in order to access and understand what that path looks like, you need creativity. So I want to invite you to reflect on where you have suppressed your creativity. I shared some of my stories in this episode today. What are your stories? Where have you turned off that tap, stopped that flow, reduced it down to a single trickle? And what has taken its place? Are you overworking? Are you avoiding tapping into the emotions that are present or that have metastasized from you cutting off your creativity? And what are some ways that you can start reigniting that flow within your life? I'm Brie Seeley. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Big Goal Energy. Don't forget to visit breesealy.com/hypnosis to indicate your interest in learning more about the 4 30-day hypnotherapy programs coming out. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you and to experience you unlocking your creative potential. If you know someone that would benefit from listening to this episode, please feel free to send it to them. Make sure you're subscribed. We have some great episodes coming up. Thank you again for joining me. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Big Goal Energy. We trust that it fueled your ambition and made you feel seen. We are a community of ambitious female entrepreneurs like you. Come join us in the Big Goal Energy community by visiting breesealy.com/community. In the meantime, send your questions for us to cover in the episodes to info@breesealy.com. Together, we'll turn your audacious dreams into remarkable achievements. Cheers to defying reality. See you on the next episode.